part of the day. We are going to start with our 28th lesson. Hammaga salom. Biz siz bilan 28-darsimizni boshlaymiz. Bugungi darsimizni biz siz bilan grammatical speaking, listening va readingga bag'ishlaymiz. Demak, boshladik. So, the speaking, we are still continuing. So, in the speaking part, we are still continuing with this search of the golden mask chappy chappy. And here we have the conversation of these kids who are now in the space room. Last time they were in the Chinese room, now they are in the space room. As you can see, it's quite interesting. So, let's read. Welcome everyone to Journey into Space. Journey, it means sayohat. Oh wow, we must have a look at this. But we are trying to catch the thief. So they are trying to catch the thief. However, Alfie really wants to look at this room. There are a few seats left in the spacecraft. A few means, again, what? Yes, albatta, ko'p emas. Please, all right, we can spend a little time here, I suppose. Aytaylik biz ozgincha vaqt bunga ham ajratsak bo'ladi. So, I suppose aytaylik it means. Astronauts, please put your bags in this box. You can get them when you return to Earth. Come on, let's climb on board. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off. So, lift off, ketdik. We are going up. The Earth is getting smaller and smaller. We are going into orbit around the Earth. Look, there is Africa and America and China. So as you can see, this is the imitation. So as you can see, this is the imitation of the real space. They are like astronauts. The oceans are beautiful. And now we are going down. Wow, what a fantastic trip. So trip is the synonym of journey. Yes, it was great, but it wasn't long enough. So long enough, what does it mean? We are going now to talk about it. This is the end of the speaking part. Let's talk about long enough now. Adjective plus enough. Long enough, big enough, small enough, beautiful enough. So what does it mean? It means yetarli darajada nimadir. Alright, so yetarli darajada katta or yetarli darajada chiroyli. For example, let's say yesterday I met a girl. She wasn't very beautiful. However, I think she was beautiful enough for me. U juda ham chiroyli emasdi, lekin men uchun u yetarlicha chiroyli edi. Or let's say he's old enough. For example, how old is your brother? My brother is 7 years old. That's good. He's old enough to play in this competition, so he can play here. Or for example, another example, or let's say my little brother wants to play in a competition, and then the organizers ask him, how old are you? I am 8 years old, he says, and then they will say, all right, you are old enough to play in this competition. It means you have enough age, you are mature enough to play here. So, siz yetarlicha kattasiz bu tanlovda qatnashish uchun. So, old enough, yetarlicha katta. Or she's not fast enough to run in this race. For example, let's say my friend wants to run in this race, and then the organizers tell her, dear Malika, we are sorry, but you are not fast enough to run here. So you should train harder, and then maybe hopefully one day you will be running in this competition or in this race. So you can use adjective, so you can use either in negative or in positive, and you have necessary amount of some skills. This lesson is long enough to learn all the useful skills. Bu dars yetarlicha uzun hamma narsani yodlash uchun. So you see, yetarlicha uzun, and it's not very much difficult, so it's opposite. So we can say this is opposite of 2 plus adjective. 2 plus adjective, it means juda ham, very, very much. But adjective plus enough, it means good enough, alright? Yetarlicha yaxshi. For example, how do you feel? So what do you think about the weather in Uzbekistan? It's not too hot and it's not too cold. So I would say it's good enough. U juda ham issiq emas, u juda ham sovuq emas. So men o'ylaymanki, u yetarlicha yaxshi. Alright? Please now make 5 sentences on your own. Well done. So in order to understand this topic a little bit better, now let's do some exercises. So that your life will not be too simple, we are going to do exercises not only adjective plus enough, otherwise it will be very much easy. We are going to do exercises on adjective plus enough and to plus adjective. So let's do it together. So do it first on your own, pause the video, and then we are going to check together. But the first one, as an example, I will do it on my own. I left the coffee for a minute to cool because it was too hot to drink. So we have adjective after it, so it will be too hot. Cool here, opposite of heat. If you remember, heat, it means isitmoq. Cool, sovutmoq. So men kofeni 1 minutga qoldirdim. Sovish uchun, chunki u juda ham issiq edi. Biz aytolmaymiz, u yetarlicha issiq edi. It will be not very much logical, so we will say too hot. Please, other sentences, please do them on your own, and then we are going to check. So now let's check our answers. First, we have already done. Second, he wasn't strong enough to lift that heavy box. U yetarlicha kuchli emasdi og'ir korobkani ko'tarish uchun. Next one, there aren't enough policemen in our town. First, do you have enough information to help me with this problem? Sizda yetarlicha ma'lumot bormi? Next, it's too difficult to do for a little child. It's too difficult to do for a little child. Bu juda ham qiyin kichkina bola qilish uchun. 6, I don't have too much time to prepare dinner. Too much, too many we also can say. It means juda ham ko'p. 7, I didn't buy the car because it was too expensive. 8, he didn't work hard enough to pass the exam. And 9, my mom can't sleep because she drinks too much coffee. And the last one, she isn't old enough to start driving. It means she's too young to start driving. So you see these adjectives, enough plus adjective and too plus adjective, they are the opposite one. Old enough, it means too young. Not fast enough, it means too slow. Not beautiful enough, it means too ugly. So I hope it's clear now. Now let's move to the listening part. I hope the grammar part is clear. Now let's see how it looks in the conversation. Have a look. What do you think? Oh dear. Have a look. What do you think? Oh dear. What's the matter? It's not big enough. It's too small? Exactly. And it's not big enough. It's too small? Exactly. And it's not colorful enough. Really? And I'm afraid it's not heavy enough. Not heavy enough. Opposite of it is too light. Not heavy enough? How much did it cost? It was very cheap. Well, that's the problem. It doesn't look expensive enough. It means not expensive enough. Opposite of it, please. You tell me. Exactly. It is too cheap. Shall I take it back to the shop? I think you should. So she bought some box. So this person has bought a box. However, it's not good enough for another person. So this is the end of the grammar part. Let's move on to the listening. So before we start the listening, please now tell me, what do you know about the moon? So what is moon? Moon, this is, so before we start the listening, please can you now tell a little bit about the moon? What is it? What does it do? So personally, what I know, moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth, and it is round, and it orbits the Earth. It means it circles, it goes round, it orbits the Earth. It means it goes round the Earth, and it also shines at night by reflecting the lights of the sun. And it shines at night by reflecting light from the sun. So this is a very little information that I know about the moon. What do you know about the moon? Now let's listen and we are going to answer to these 5 questions.
Pupils Book, Unit 10, page 106. Activities 2 and 3. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off! The huge rocket took off and went up into the sky. 3 American astronauts were on board and they were very excited. They were flying to the moon. The moon was 400,000 kilometers away and the journey took 3 days. When they arrived at the moon, the rocket went into orbit around it. 2 men went down onto the moon and 1 man stayed in the rocket. The first man to stand on the moon was Neil Armstrong. The date was the 21st of July, 1969. The 2 astronauts stayed on the moon for about 2 hours. They picked up rocks to take back to Earth. Soon it was time to leave. The 2 men went back up to the rocket, and the 3 astronauts travelled back to Earth. They travelled for 3 days. Then the rocket's parachutes opened, and it dropped into the sea. Soon a helicopter arrived and picked up the 3 astronauts.
If you have listened, now let's check our answers. So the first one, how many astronauts traveled to the moon? There were 3 astronauts who traveled to the moon, and one of them was Neil Armstrong. Second one, where were they from? All of them were from America. Next, how far is the moon from the Earth? It's around 4,100 kilometers. Fourth, when did the first man walk on the moon? The first man walked on the moon on 21st of July 1969. What did the astronauts do on the moon? They picked up the rocks. As you can see in this picture, they picked up some rocks. So this is the end of our listening part. Now let's move to the writing. And in the writing part, we are going to talk about space again. And here, as you can see, we have Yuri Gagarin, who was the first man in the space. And you have some information about him as well. So using all this data, you have to write his little biography, alright? Similar to the ones that we read about Valentina Tereshkova. So let's start. Please pause the video and then we will compare our answers. Let's read together. Yuri Gagarin was born in 1934 near the town of Zhatsk in the West Russia. In 1950, he left secondary school. So he left, it means he didn't continue his secondary school. Secondary school, it's usually starting from the 5th grade to 9th. And starting from 9th till 11th, this is high school already. His favorite subject was math. In 1951, he decided to join a flying club. He learned to fly planes and he learned parachuting. So as you can see, all the spacemen must know how to parachute, how to skydive. It should be noticed that he was good enough at both of them. So he was good enough at flying planes and he also was good enough at parachuting. In 1955, he joined the Air Force Flying School. In 1957, he passed the pilot's test successfully with flying colors. So, with flying colors and successfully, both of them are synonyms, and it means in a very, very good way. موفقيت بلند. With flying colors, this is idiom. If you remember, we learned some of them with you. He had a goal to become a cosmonaut. Goal, it is aim, maqsad. So in 1959, he started cosmonaut training, and in 1960, he joined the space program. On the 12th of April 1961, he became the first man in space, and he completed the first orbit of the Earth. Orbit, it means yerni aylanib chiqish. The flight took 1 hour and 48 minutes. On 27th of March 1968, he died on a test flight when his jet plane crashed. So it was a very disappointing death. He was test driving his flight, and unfortunately he crashed and he had an accident and died. A crater on the moon has the name Gagarin to honor his contribution to space. Honor is a very beautiful word, and it means sharaflamoq. For example, I honor all the hard work of my teacher. Contribution, it means qo'shgan hissa. So contribution, it means hissa, alright? So honor his contribution to space will be kosmosga qo'shgan hissasini sharaflash uchun. So this is the end of our 28th lesson. I hope it was productive enough. So see you next time. Goodbye.